So you came to prominence in like the 1990s with like Danger Girl, Gen
Right.
13,
Yeah.
and then you flash forward 20 some odd years, and then now we have you on Spawn, which is like one of the biggest books from the 90s. What does
Of
Spawn
course.
mean to you? How did this come about?
Under an unfortunate situation because Stan Lee had passed away. I had met Todd years and years ago. He actually did an action figure line for Danger Girl back in the late 90s. Todd and I had spent time with Stan in those later years. Todd, much more than I have. Todd's known Stan for like 30 years. And we would sometimes chat on the phone, talking about it, reminiscing. He's a chatty guy, and we'd have these longer conversations. And eventually it led to the fact that he had Spawn 300 coming out, and he inquired if I'd be interested in not just doing a cover. He was very insistent about that. You can't just do the cover. You got to do some interior pages, which I was certainly open-minded to. I wanted to see how many he had in mind. That eventually led to us talking about what I would draw. He spitballed an idea with me. It'd be really fun to do a montage with all of your great monsters. He goes, oh, you could do that? That sounds good. And then he talked about how at the end of this short story, he was going to reintroduce She-Spawn, which I thought was really cool. And it was really kind of left kind of vague. I was like, well, is she going to have a new costume or something? He goes, yeah, like a new costume. You know, draw something cool. And I was like, okay, well, that's fun. I pitched him the idea. I said, I think she'd look really cool if she was like a female Ghost Rider. She had like her own chopper, like the Spawn chopper kind of thing. And he liked that idea. So I was like, okay, cool. Let me kind of run with that. So her debut at the end of my section of Spawn 300 kind of made up a costume on the spot. He seemed to dig it. He inked the first appearance of her as well in this new costume. I'm really glad to see that she stuck around. I kind of thought maybe she'd have that costume for an issue or two, and then Todd would design the one he likes. But I guess he liked the costume, which is kind of cool. Those are big shoes to fill when you're redressing a character in the Spawn universe. So the fact that he liked the aesthetic was quite the compliment to me. It worked in his ecosystem of Spawn, and I'm very flattered by that. And that basically, I think, led to maybe a year or two later, he asked if I would draw covers of each of the characters featured in Spawn's universe. She-Spawn, the Gunslinger, Medieval Spawn, which I really liked how that cover turned out too, and then Redeemer, which is the angel character, the anti-Spawn kind of character, which is also a lot of fun. In fact, I think the cover I ended up using with She-Spawn was actually an idea I pitched him almost immediately after I drew her in 300. I said, hey, this is another idea I had. This might be a cool cover. We just kind of sat on it for a while, and then we were able to do that cover where she's got the guns kind of like this and has her jacket off. That was fun because when I drew her in here, I didn't have her with her jacket off, so I was able to say, oh, she has tattoos here, and he's like, oh, that's cool. And I was like, okay, I guess we'll do that. He likes
Creating canon as you go.
Yeah, so I kind of just added to the character from that second appearance. It's cool to have a character with a bunch of guns. That's a classic image, but to me, the idea of her just taping all these guns together and she can actually use the Spawn powers to make sure they all fire, I thought was a really fun visual. Really happy to see this cover really take off where, I mean, people have spoofed it now and have done their versions of it, but when you get to draw something like Spawn 300, you can't help but as an artist go, I might not hit the target, but I've got to think iconic. Like what could possibly turn into something iconic? And I think this one kind of ended up being just that, which I'm really happy about. People have kind of really connected to it, and I think this is one of those Spawn images that now is kind of like an image people think of when they think of Spawn, which is really cool.